think I'm safe in saying this, that pretty much everybody agrees that Mike Leach is batshit crazy. In an awesome, majestic way. His talk about marriages, his talk about trying to find where the raccoon came from. I mean, just legendary stuff. But this guy is batshit. And that's okay. But imagine being the type of crazy that even in modern college football, you're at a major D1 program at a Power 5 conference school, and you want to take a 6'2", 255-pound guy and play him as a nose tackle. And then it kind of works. That's Mike Leach crazy right there. Hercules! Just the name. I mean, when you think about, like, badass names, badass football names, badass wrestler names, like, what would be a badass name to you? Well, I know to me, Hercules Mataafa is a badass mofo name. Just say it. Hercules, a football player named Hercules. I feel like the dude's gonna freaking put chains on the next time he comes out of the tunnel, and he's gonna give Bobby the Brain Heenan from beyond the grave to come out and sit there. When Howard Finkel says Hercules, he raises his hands up in all that majesty of 80s roided WWF. Hercules. Just the name. It just signifies football player. It signifies fighter. It signifies badass. And that's what Mataafa is. He's a badass. And it's crazy because he's a really, really tough guy to evaluate. Because you are trying to look at him at college as a defensive tackle and not project him to defensive end and hope he's somebody like a Haloi Kikaha or something like that. You're looking at him and trying to project him not as a like 4-3 defensive end, but a 3-4 outside linebacker. Like, that is an entirely different path for this guy to the NFL. Because clearly he's not playing inside in the NFL. There's just no way. And the Schleich Daddy means no freaking way. He might be Hercules, but he's not Zeus. I'm just saying. So it's hard to evaluate this guy because you can get conned and tricked into the positives that you see in his game look even more positive playing against guys that are 3, 4, 5 inches taller and 50, 60, 70 pounds heavier. And don't get me wrong, he plays like a quick, explosive athlete. I know he didn't time like that in the 40 at the combine, but when you're talking about what his primary role would be, talking about in 10-yard space, there are very few college football players this year that showed quicker on film in the short area than Hercules did. The trick is how much quicker did he look going up against interior linemen? So how well does that translate outside? It's a real question. It's a challenging question to have to answer. And when you look at this guy, primarily, he's not big, but he does play bigger than his size. Like, he feels like Haku with pads sometimes. I'm sorry for all the wrestler analogies here, but I feel like they're appropriate. Like, this dude can play like a monster at times. But other times, whether as a run defender or as a pass rusher, especially playing inside, if he didn't beat you with quickness, you beat him up pretty badly on a relatively consistent basis. He would get off balance trying to fly through the middle and shoot the gap. And once he would lose the center of gravity in his base and he gets off balance, you could just ragdoll him around. You could just throw him around. And no matter how big he plays, and no matter how strong he plays, and no matter how much attitude he plays with, the fact was he was playing at about 250 pounds on the inside. So it really comes down to how do you project the guy? Because he plays really, really hard. He shows a pretty good feel for the game. He looks like a quick, explosive athlete, even though the 40 time suggests something entirely different. But to me, I completely understand why some teams will probably only have a mid to late day 3 grade on him, or might even have a not draftable grade on him. Because again, even as an edge rusher, he lacks in size. He's 6'2", 254. His arms are only 31.5 inches, so he's not a big guy. So you're not really looking at him as a 4-3 defensive end. It's pretty much just a 3-4 outside linebacker. How well does that burst play? Does he really have the flexibility in the bend to get his shoulder low, to dip, bend the edge? Does he have that flexibility in his hips? Does he have the ability to change directions quickly? Does he have that natural lateral agility? Is he going to be able to hold up against NFL offensive linemen who are now in the 320, 330 range? Is he really a guy you're going to be able to utilize much in coverage? How much of the pass rush ability that he showed, or the ability to play the run and shoot the gap and penetrate into the backfield, came solely because of quickness going against guys that had no real business blocking him because they were way too damn big and slow? Then you talk about some of the off-the-field reports about him, talking about him loving to get into fights. I believe several years back there was one pretty well-documented incident with him, and I think it was his brother and some other family involved shots and stuff. Not him shooting, but getting shot at. I mean, I called him a badass mofo for a reason. But it's funny, as hard as he plays on the field, I've seen several reports talking about how hard he doesn't work. That he just goes out there and plays. And for him, it is going to be such a massive migration from an interior lineman to an edge rusher that it concerns me that this guy maybe won't take it that seriously, he won't work that hard, and he won't be able to stay out of trouble, that he could put himself into some bad situations. Like, there's a sentimental part of me that really wants Hercules Mataafa to make it big in the NFL. There's absolutely that part of me. And I think that's ultimately when I put together my big board, I'll probably still have like a 4th or maybe 4th to 5th round grade on him. Because I want the guy to succeed. I feel like there's a good story there. I really do. But I feel like the odds are kind of stacked against him a little bit. And I wonder how much of an opportunity he's really going to get. Now, maybe he's a guy that can still enjoy a nice, productive career in the NFL as a backup role player and a really good special teamer, and that might be his place. But how great is he in terms of overall athleticism, and how much would you really get out of him there? And how high of a pick do you really want to spend on that potential guy? That's going to be how he has to make his chops in the NFL initially, is as a special teamer, and even then, I'm concerned about just how productive of a special teams player he would really be. And then when I think about the reputation for wanting to fight and not being the hardest worker, yeah, I wouldn't bet on this guy becoming a star in the NFL, unfortunately.